You open your eyes. You don't know what time it is. There is no clock on the wall. There is no glowing phone beside your head. Just gray light leaking through the trees. A bird starts up somewhere. The air is cold on your face. For almost all of human history, this was every single morning. No numbers, no hours, no alarm telling you that you are already late. Your ancestors woke for over 300,000 years without ever asking one simple question: what time is it? And yet they were never lost in time. They always knew when to hunt. They always knew when to walk home. They always knew when the cold was coming. So how did they do it? Think about your own day for a moment. You probably check the time before your feet even hit the floor. A clock on your wrist, a clock on your screen, a clock glowing in the corner of every room you enter. Now take all of it away. No watch, no phone, no numbers anywhere on Earth. Could you still find your way through a single day? Your ancestors could, and they did it for thousands of generations. Here is the strange part. They did not invent time. They read it. Time was never on a wall. It was in the sky. It was in the falling light. And it was ticking, quietly, inside their own bodies. The very first clock any human ever owned was the one they were born with. Let me tell you about a man named Michel Siffre. In 1962, he did something that sounds completely insane. He climbed deep into a dark cave. Then he stayed there for 2 whole months, alone, in total darkness. No sunlight, no watch, no way to tell day from night. He wanted to answer one question. What happens to your sense of time when the world goes black? Something remarkable happened down there. His body kept its own rhythm. It kept waking him and letting him sleep on a steady beat. Deep underground, with no sun and no clock, his body still counted the days. That rhythm has a name. Scientists call it your circadian rhythm. It is just a fancy phrase for the internal clock ticking inside every single human. Your ancestors trusted that inner clock completely. They felt time before they ever measured it. But the body clock only tells you roughly. It cannot tell you the hour. For that, your ancestors simply looked up. The sun was the first hand on the sky's enormous clock. When it climbed, the day was beginning. When it sank, the day was running out. A hunter could glance down at a shadow and read the time off the ground. A short shadow meant the sun was high and the day was young. A long shadow, stretching across the dirt, meant it was time to head home. No numbers were needed, just light and the ground it fell on. The whole world was a sundial. Now, here is a harder question. The sun can give you a single day, but how do you count a month? How do you plan for a season that is still far away? For that, your ancestors watched something slower, something stranger. They watched the moon. The moon is the oldest calendar humans have ever kept. It grows from nothing into a full, bright circle. Then it shrinks back down to nothing again. And it does this on a steady beat, about 29 nights, every single time. Your ancestors noticed that beat, and some of them began to count it. In a cave on the border of South Africa, archaeologists found a tiny piece of bone. It came from the leg of a baboon. It is around 43,000 years old. The place is called Border Cave. The object is called the Lumbambo bone. Carved into it are 29 clear notches. 29, the exact number of nights in a cycle of the moon. Some scientists believe it is one of the oldest calendars ever found, a tally of the sky, scratched one night at a time. Sit with that for a second. 43,000 years ago, someone sat in the dark and kept score of the moon. And they were not alone. A researcher named Alexander Marshak spent years studying carved bones from the Ice Age. He looked closely at the little marks our ancestors left behind. Marks on bone, marks on stone. And he argued something bold. He said many of those marks were not just decoration. He believed they were records, a diary of the moon, growing and fading, notch by notch. Far away, near a lake in the heart of Africa, another bone was found. It is called the Ishango bone. It is around 20,000 years old. It, too, is covered in careful rows of notches. Across a whole continent and across thousands of years, humans kept scratching the same slow rhythm into bone. But bone can be lost, and a tribe needs to remember more than a single person can carry. So your ancestors did something bigger. They wrote time into the earth itself. In a field in Scotland, hidden for 10,000 years, there is a line of pits dug into the soil. The place is called Warren Field. An archaeologist named Vince Gaffney and his team studied it carefully. They found 12 pits, curving in an arc. Together, they seem to track the phases of the moon across an entire year. It may be the oldest calendar ever discovered. Around 10,000 years old. Not held in a hand, not scratched on bone. Dug into the land so the whole community could read it together. And once humans could track a year, they could catch the biggest moment of all, the day the sun itself turns around. Twice a year, the sun climbs to its highest or lowest point, then reverses. Your ancestors learned to trap that exact day using stone. In the desert of southern Egypt stands a ring of stones called Noptoplaya. It is thousands of years old. Some of its stones line up with the sunrise on the longest day of the year. Far to the north, in Germany, a ring called the Goseck Circle has gates that frame the midwinter sunrise. And in England rises the most famous stone clock of all, Stonehenge. On the longest day of the year, the sun still climbs directly over its ancient stones. These were not just piles of rock, they were machines for catching a single sunrise, built by people with no metal, no writing, and no numbers at all. So let's put it all together. Let's live one whole day the ancient way. You wake not to a number, but to light in the leaves. You feel it in your body before your eyes even open. It is morning. You are rested. You step outside and glance down at your shadow, long and thin across the ground, early still. Time to move. All through the day, you read the sun climbing and falling. No clock, no panic. That night, you look up and find the moon a little fuller than before. Another notch, another night closer to the cold. And months from now, when the sun rises exactly between two familiar stones, you will understand. Winter has turned. The light is coming back. You never once asked what time it was. You simply knew. Now here's the twist. We tell ourselves that clocks set us free, that measuring every minute made us modern and powerful and organized. But think about how time actually feels to you now. You are late. You are behind. You are always running out of it. Your ancestors were never late for anything. There was simply nothing to be late for. The clock did not free them because they never needed freeing. It was the invention of the fixed hour that first put humans on a schedule. The hour your shift begins, the minute your train pulls away, the alarm that rips you out of sleep before your body is ready. Ancient humans owned their time. We rent ours back, 1 hour at a time. And yet, something in you never fully surrendered. Have you ever woken up seconds before your alarm, as if your body already knew? That is the old clock, the same one Michel Seifer found still ticking in the dark. Fly across the world, and your body will rebel for days, because it is still keeping time by a sun that is now in the wrong place. Underneath the watch on your wrist, an older clock is still running, the very same one your ancestors read in shadows and moons and standing stones. It has been keeping time for 300,000 years, and it has never once needed a number. You open your eyes. You still don't know what time it is, but somewhere beneath the alarms and the glowing screens, in a rhythm far older than any clock, your body already does.